everybody. Today with you our podcast Serial Lab and the host Karim Sardar. And today's guest are my best friends and the students of Presidential School in Marhamat, Arjan Saidjon. Hello Saidjon.
Hello, Sardar. Thanks for inviting me. And as you mentioned earlier, I'm a high school student, and I'm about to graduate high school in the following year in Bahama Specialized School. Well, it's a specialized school, not a presidential school, but it is under Presidential Education Agency. Uh, yes.
So today we're discussing the science behind dopamine. So what is actually dopamine?
Well, dopamine is actually a neurotransmitter in our brain. The dopamine is something that transmits signals or some senses between neurocells in our brain. For example, let's assume dopamine as a messenger that that brings or that sends or shares very important or transmits very important signals or very important messages between our neural cells.
Mm-hmm.
And also, dopamine is involved in our sleep and in our movement and also in our mood, and especially in our rewarding and motivation. Well, the reason I chose to be prepared for dopamine is because the phrase dopamine detox has been really popular in the States, and it literally drew my attention.
And resonated with it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yes, of course.
So you mentioned that dopamine is responsible for various functions. Can you explain in more detail how dopamine affects our daily lives and even how it's central to our well-being?
Yes. Well, actually, dopamine works like this. Well, firstly, our brain releases dopamine, and the dopamine is gonna bind into the receptors of our neurocells, and then it gives us whether pleasure or whether inhibit of the things we are engaged in. And the dopamine gives us pleasure from any kind of activity, whether it's be eating or exercising, or weightlifting, or even scrolling TikTok, or sitting on social media, etc., etc.
So you mentioned that it's like it encompasses many activities.
Yes, yes.
It's cool. Then dopamine. Uh, how does it drive our behaviors? And as you said, why do some activities like scrolling social media create such strong feedback loops in our brains?
Well, this is because the dopamine waves. Giving a dopamine is divided into. There are two types of giving dopamine, like releasing dopamine. The first type is called tonic transmission, and the second one is the phasic transmission. Well, let's begin with tonic transmission. Well, actually, before we begin about describing or explaining the tonic transmission, there is a paradox called a cocktail party. Well, assume that, let's assume that, imagine that you are in a cocktail party. In cocktail parties, there will be, in the rooms that you are in, there are around it's 25 or 50 people, and all of them are chatting with each other, all of them are making conversation with each other. Then this causes, of course, humming. I mean, around you, the people are humming with each other. Your ears are hearing humming some voices from other people, and this can be a perfect example for tongue transmission. Well, the tongue transmission is a kind of the dopamine waves with very small lengths of pitches. It surges in a very small length. Whereas the passive transmission is like, let's get back to that example again. Yes, imagine that you are in a cocktail party, and the people around you are humming, and there are some voices that your ears are hearing, and at some point someone called you like, "Hey, Sardar," and you will recognize that voice,
Yeah.
and you will look at that side. You will look at the side that voice, someone who called you, and this can be example for fastest transmission. Well, we always have. I mean, all the time we have tunnel transmission waves. I mean, your transmission level will be like very
Small,
small,
yeah.
very small lengths or very small pitches. And at some point, you will feel some excitement. You will feel the dopamine. When dopamine releases, when dopamine pitches, like reach its peak, then you will feel like, I mean, the fast transmission will occur. Like your that waves will become very large, and this large waves, this large the pitches are the fast transmission. For example, let's assume that you posted your recent photo
Yeah.
on social media, like on Instagram, and you like somehow uh, expected that you will get 100 likes or 100 comments for that post, and after that, I mean, when you're sitting or when you're relaxing, then you hear the notification, and at this exact moment, I mean, when you hear the notification sound from your phone, your the fast transmission will become very high, very higher, and you feel something because you were expecting to get 100 likes or to get 100 comments, and you expect that, your brain expect that, yeah, I guess I got a like from someone in Instagram. And at that point, your fast transmission waves will become higher, and this gives you somehow pleasure.
Yeah.
And in that way, the people feel the pleasure. People somehow, I mean, the dopamine in that way works.
Yeah. So you said that whenever we feel something reverting over these small pitches will become really higher.
Yeah.
So, and then in today's world, many people seem to be constantly distracted, as you know. And how has the imbalance between tonic and phasic dopamine transmission contributed to this phenomenon?
Well, it's actually, I mean, these transmissions, as I mentioned, as I mentioned earlier. Well, actually, these transmissions, uh, somehow dopamine is about these two transmissions.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There are no other things than this transmission, and that's why, as as dopamine plays a vital role in people being distracted to social media, that means this transmission, that these waves, they play a vital and important role as well. And for example, uh, well, actually, as I mentioned earlier, as I mentioned the beginning of our podcast episode, that I said that I researched this topic because the phrase dopamine detox has become very popular nowadays.
Yeah.
And dopamine detox means, I mean, the people are, I mean, this is because of, I guess, the bloggers, the YouTubers, they are very celebrities
Yeah.
that are trying to do dopamine detox. They are trying to get the control over their lives, get rid of some bad habits of theirs. Well, uh, dopamine detoxing is not about detoxing your dopamine fully, because we cannot. It's impossible for us to
Yeah.
live without dopamine, and that's why dopamine detoxing is about resetting the balance between the tonic transmissions and alpha transmissions. The reason that people are not able to feel something in these days is because their balance is broken, between the waves of tonic transmission and phasic transmission is broken. What I mean by this, well, as I mentioned earlier, in order to feel something,
Yeah.
your the length of phasic transmission waves should be relatively higher than the waves of your tonic transmission waves. And but in these days, the people are so distracted because of the broken balance,
Yeah.
because of that imbalance. Well, I mean, the tonic transmission waves in these days in people's brain dopamine levels, transmission levels, the lens are literally similar, are very similar to the lens of the fast transmission, which is very terrible for people, which can cause addiction and which can cause anxiety, of course, because the vast majority of time will be further away, and that's it actually. But I want to finish this topic. I want to finish this part, this segment,
Yeah.
by giving an example. For example, well, if someone tries a drug, let's assume that. Let's
Yeah.
assume if someone tries a drug or heroin or somehow very strong medicine pills for the first time, then, as I mentioned earlier, our tongue transmission levels, our tongue transmission lengths will be at constant levels, and in the first time that man tries to drop for the first time, then then the the passive transmission will be more higher than the tongue transmission waves, which leads to unparalleled excitement. And as time goes by, this tongue transmission levels will be more higher and higher, which means the length of that waves will be very similar to the length of passive transmission in the first place. Well, that means uh, people need bigger doses and relatively higher doses, or relatively more pills of the drug, or relatively more doses of the heroin,
Yeah,
in
they'll
order to
become
in,
addicted.
in order to feel the excitement,
Yeah.
that they felt for the first time.
Yeah.
Well, dopamine, as I mentioned earlier, is our rewarding system. When you feel some excitement, your brain will be very excited. Your brain wants that excitement again, which leads to addiction. As this, the social medias work in this algorithm.
Yeah, you said that the main problem is broken balance.
Yes.
Yeah. So, for those struggling with bad habits driven by dopamine, how long does it take typically to rewire their brain? Like some people, as you said, are addicted to those habits. And what is your recommendations for them?
Well, I recommend those who are very addicted to social media or scrolling TikTok or Instagram, or those who see it on social media a lot, uh, to read the book called Dopamine Nation.
Yeah.
And this book is very very beneficial and very useful. I This book is written by Aura Limberg, and this woman, I mean, the author has literally spent around over 15 years of her life for this field, for only this field, for dopamine field, and that's why her book is just precious. It's just unparalleled and unmatched, and it's called Dopamine Nation. And I also have to mention that the things that I mentioned, the things that I gave information about are from that book.
Yeah.
Well, in that book, they're saying that it generally takes around 4 weeks. 4 weeks. I mean, approximately 4 weeks to fully get rid of that bad habit,
Yeah.
including the social media addiction.
Yeah, and I think people need more evidence and like recommendation. Are there specific strategies that can help them regain control over their dopamine levels?
Oh, yes, actually, yeah. Yeah, you remind me. Yeah, thank you. Well, there are actually 4 strategies that are mentioned in that book. And the first one is the rule of pain before pleasure.
Yeah.
What I mean by this, uh, you have to feel the difficulty. You have to experience the before you get the pleasure. And only in this way, only in this approach, you will have a chance to reset the balance between your autonomous transmission waves and passive transmission waves. For example, uh, when you feel when you do the difficult force, for example, let's assume that you have two different types of cakes, and the first cake includes some ingredients that you don't like. For example, I don't like blueberries, and
Me too.
these blueberries taste very very bad, and that's why I really don't like blueberries. And the first cake. Actually, first cake includes the ingredient of the uh, blueberries, and the second cake includes somehow the fruit that you really love, like banana or apple, and so on.
Yeah.
And you have to. But the rule is the requirement or and the requirement is you have to eat both of them. And in this situation, when you eat the first one, I mean, when you eat firstly the blueberry one, then you will feel somehow disgust, or that taste will be very bad for very bad for your brain, or will be very somehow very absurd or grassy. You will feel very grassy after you eat that. But your brain knows that after this difficulty, after this bad taste, you will have good taste of your favorite cake or of your favorite fruit. And but if you start with your favorite cake,
Yeah.
with a cake that tastes very bad and that tastes much more better than the first one, then after you ate that, you would feel that you do not want this anymore. And this is because of the breaking the rule that I mentioned before, the rule of the rule of pain before pleasure. You have to feel the pain first,
Yeah.
and you will feel the pleasure more better when you feel the pain first. And the second strategy is called the rule of avoidance. For example, in order to get rid of those bad habits, you need to avoid the things that can remind you or that can trigger you to get back to that bad habit again. And this is very simple.
Yeah.
But the following one is more more wider and more somehow thoroughly explained than the last two ones. The third one is the rule of barriers. You have to put some barriers.
Yeah.
You have to put some barriers for yourself in order to in order to be free from those bad habits. For example, I mean, these barriers are in three types, and the first type is called chronological, the time barriers. Well, in order to get rid of something, you need to not exposure yourself from you're not exposure for yourself into that bad habit
Yeah.
for a certain amount of time. That can be very useful because I mentioned earlier that it takes 4 weeks. It takes 4 weeks to get fully rid of that bad habit. Let's for example, you should avoid that bad habit for 21 days consecutively, and you will not feel the desire or intention to get back to that bad habit again. And the second type of the barrier is the geographical barriers. Geographical barrier is a kind of tangible, or is a kind of steps, I guess, uh, because you need to make the first step. Like you shouldn't buy something. You shouldn't buy something you want to get rid of. For example, uh,
Avoid this altogether.
avoid this.
Mhm.
In order to avoid this, or in order to be free from this bad habit thoroughly, you shouldn't buy cigarette, for example, if you want to get rid of this smoking. And yeah, that's the kind of uh, the barriers that requires effort.
Yeah, like you have to just resist.
You have to resist by not doing some activity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's related to time, location.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
So
And the third type is called categorical barriers. Well, categorical barriers are kind of, well, how can I explain it? It's kind of uh,
category.
yeah, not category. It's kind of matter of discipline.
Yeah.
You need to make rules for yourself. You need to make laws that should be followed.
Yeah.
You need to make yourself. You need to somehow oblige yourself to follow that rule. For example, as I mentioned earlier, if you want to get rid of something, you should avoid this thing for 4 weeks. Uh, just make rule that I should not do this for the next 4 weeks, and
Yeah.
that's it. You need to somehow conceive your brain. You need to somehow conceive your brain that thing that you want to avoid is one of the disgusting things in the world. Or you need to lie to yourself, or you need to conceive your brain.
Yeah.
Or uh, only in this approach you can also build a very strong discipline, because it can strengthen your discipline. Because after you got rid of that bad habit thoroughly, fully, then you will feel more confident. Because I can say that based on my experience, because I was a social media addict also. Because after you got fully rid of that bad habit, you will feel more confident. Because any addiction, you can name it. Any addiction literally destroys a man, destroys person. Trust me. The addiction is caused by dopamine, and that's why I guess we have to learn dopamine. Because if you know how your enemy works, or if you know how your enemies are gonna attack you, how your enemies work, or how the plans of your enemies works well or not, or what are the plans of your enemies,
Yeah.
then you will be able to stand a chance. You will be able to stand against that enemy.
Yeah, you'll compete for them. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's this topic is like really related to many sides, like productivity, philosophy. Like in philosophy, I think they say these things. You have to have your own control over yourself, this
yeah,
authority. Like it's also related to dopamine science stuff, and I think productivity. I think everybody read Atomic Habits, and it's also said that like all of the strategies you mentioned, putting a barrier in whatever you do, and like if it's truly like disgusting habit, as you said, smoking or alcohol, you have to avoid it altogether. And those are the things, like, in every, like, realm, you will constantly just face them. And all of this, I think, I know now, is because of dopamine. Yeah.
yeah. As you mentioned, barriers. For example, let's yeah. There was a saying in Atomic Habits, I guess. Uh, well, the barrier you want to put should be some difficult. It fits to the first strategy I mentioned, the rule of pain before pleasure. You need to expose yourself to pain before you get the pleasure. For example, if you want to scroll, if you have desire, if you have intention to scroll social media, or get into the Instagram and check if someone has sent a message to you or not. Just say to yourself, I will do 50 push-ups, 50 push-ups in a row, and after that, I
Yeah.
allow myself.
Batching technique. Yeah, batching technique.
Yeah, I allow myself to get into social media, or to see it on social media for some time, and this barrier works pretty well, actually.
Yeah, like I think it was batching, or maybe like putting one activity you want, like you have to do, and like follow it up with the thing that you want to do, like that is
Yeah.
really like favorable to you. And so yes.
And I also, I guess I have to mention that the majority of people, the vast majority of people, are so addicted right
Yeah.
now in these days, to the point that they mindlessly somehow opens the phone without any thought, without any aim.
Becomes subconscious.
Yeah, because it became so solid habit for those people. They have no idea. They have no intention of getting to of checking some message or doing some beneficial or useful stuff in their phone. They will just somehow turn on their phone without any somehow idea, without any aim. It's just aimless stuff. There's no
Yeah.
point in this, and I guess I heard this strategy in I guess in one of the podcasts I listened before, that you should I mean, if you turn on your phone without any point, then do 50 push-ups or 15 push-ups.
Yeah.
Do 15 push-ups, and your brain will somehow notice that if I do this action, then I will have to feel the difficulty. I will have to feel the pain,
You have
because
to punish yourself.
yeah, I will punish it. I'm being punished because I'm doing this because I'm driving this person to do this thing.
Yeah.
Then it will help you. It will help you to be free from this habit.
Yeah, it doesn't help you. Like, it will help you. On top of this, it will give you the self-control.
Yes.
Like I've seen many things, like productivity industry has become really like prevalent and also really popular. In those things, they have these apps, but whenever you will enter this Instagram or maybe TikTok, there will be an app called like probably like related to trees, and like
Sorry,
they will
what?
trees related to trees. There will be an app in which you would grow trees. Trees, like our physical trees. Yeah,
trees.
like you will turn it on, and it would be like working while you are like on your phone, and whenever you like, just tap on your Instagram or maybe
Yeah.
social media, like you will basically stop your trees from growing. And if you don't like check anything, you will constantly grow your just trees, and it will become a whole forest. And it's something that is like quite rewarding. People experiment those things and they will get benefit from it. It's also dopamine. Like, so these things, it's also like when we compare it to our own personality, when if we check our social media, like while you're doing something really useful for us, maybe our studies, we will first of all multitask, and the like other thing is that we will stop ourselves from doing what really matters to us. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
Like first of all, multitasking. It's also a little controversial. I don't want to mix it, but when you do those two things simultaneously, it will basically distract your attention. And also, this dopamine stuff, like being addicted to the social media, has reduced people's attention span to a really small amount. Like probably every person like in this world can be like has an attention span of a little amount. I don't know the exact amount, but it's quite low, and it will have a like disastrous consequences because we are human beings and we need to be patient. Patience requires this discipline,
Yeah.
like being able to persist. And if you constantly check your social media, uh, you will be compelled to check it again and again and again. It is a kind of a rabbit loop. You will constantly be in this loop, and nobody can stop you. And you have to be able to control yourself.
Yes, you're right. Well, you know how, for example, just take Instagram as an example. Uh, Instagram is free application, right? It's
Yeah.
free application. It doesn't require any fee, or it doesn't require any payment to use that app. And also, I guess, as far as I know, the Instagram does not offer some premium subscription or that stuff.
Yeah.
But Instagram is yet one of the
Richest?
one of the richest and one of the wealthiest companies, and one of the really really famous
Yeah.
social media apps in the world. This is because of the algorithm and the data sets it possesses. What I mean by this, as I mentioned earlier, when we have, I mean, we always have, we constantly have the constant transmission waves, and in a certain point, your phasic transmission waves will become very higher, and that's why when you're scrolling social media, I mean, the algorithm will show you, I mean, will make you to be exposed to that reels or to that certain content,
Yeah.
to that certain content you are liking for a certain amount of time, and after that certain amount of time, the algorithm will somehow algorithm. Uh, will somehow show you very different, but probably interesting video for you.
Yeah.
Interesting video, and in that moment, your fast transmission waves despite your tunnel transmission waves became larger, your fast transmission waves will become more larger. And in that point, that algorithm shows you another type of video, and you will be addicted. You will have interest. You will have interest in this new content that algorithm shows you, and in this approach, in this way, they are keeping a lot of a vast majority of people
Like,
in their datas.
it's also like YouTube, every app has this algorithm
Yes.
because they, first of all, before creating, I think, they learned these mechanisms and they apply it to, like, because marketing probably is more or less related to this every science, because in order to keep people they have to have some sort of thing that is related to the psychology of the people, and that's it. They would just create this algorithm based on our humane, just as dopamine and this psychological things, and they will tie it and become addicted.
And I also want to say that I also want to talk about something that's pretty important. Well, we have uh, average dopamine level. Let's see that. I mean, let's imagine that our average dopamine level that is in that level, But when you exposure yourself into pleasure or into some interesting video on social media, this level will become more larger, will become more higher,
Yeah.
will increase this level, and after that you will feel lazy because your brain releases huge amount of dopamine. Then you will feel lazy, you will feel very asleep, you will feel very dozy, and you want to sleep because of this. And it's also, I don't want to mention this, but it is crucial because, well, the vast majority of people right now, I mean, especially our peers, because we are both the 16 and 17-year-old guys.
Yeah.
And we all know that the majority of majority of students, or the boys that at the same age as us, have a very difficult addiction that's very somehow difficult to get rid of, and it's the masturbation addiction, pornography.
Yeah.
And after they somehow did the things, they will feel very lazy and very sleepy. They will feel very sleepy because uh, your dopamine level was at this point, and after you did that thing, after you somehow exposure your brain to high dopamine content, your dopamine level will increase into the point that it has never reached it.
Yeah.
And after that, trust me, you will become. I mean, your level will increase for a second. Your level will be increased for a second, just only a second, and at that point it will decrease dramatically,
Yeah.
drastically.
Yeah.
Even the average, the down, I guess the lower than your average dopamine level, and
Yeah.
because of this, you will feel very tired and you will feel very lazy. But as time goes by, your average dopamine level will restore itself, and in that time you will feel somehow casually, you will feel a typical person. But you should, I mean, the majority of people, everyone should avoid this mistake, because somehow the playing with your dopamine level is very detrimental for your health.
Yeah.
Especially, I heard that the this kind of playing with dopamine level can cause your brain shrink. You know, your brain
Yeah.
will be shrunk after you play it after you play it with your dopamine level, with your average dopamine level a lot.
Yeah.
And I also know that, well, as I mentioned earlier, it requires discipline. It requires strong discipline in order to avoid, in order to get rid of this these things. And if a person, there's I guess I heard this from very famous neuroscientist Huberman.
Yeah.
Huberman Lab. Yeah.
Huberman.
Huberman told that, if a person avoids or or somehow resists himself from doing the thing he wants, doing the thing he desires, or doing the thing he's now intending, then I mean, there's a area, I cannot remember the exact name.
Amygdala, cerebral cortex.
Yeah, I guess no, I cannot I cannot tell you the exact name because I can't remember right now. There's area in the brain will that area will become more bigger,
Yeah.
more bigger. When you avoid the things, when you resist yourself from doing the things that you want, and it it is it's a matter of discipline.
Yeah.
If you have discipline, then you will have the better cognitive skills. And I mean, let's talk generally. If you don't have any addiction, you will have more you will have better cognitive skills, you will have better memory, you will have a bigger brain. That means we need to somehow get rid of every addiction we have.
Yeah.
Whether it's with social media or eating less content.
Yeah. It's
sensitization.
hard though. So you mentioned dopamine nation. Yeah. I think we've discussed it. What insights from the book do you think are most valuable for people trying to find balance in this age of indulgence, this hedonistic lifestyle?
Well, uh,
Yeah,
I
like
guess
strategies.
I guess the most yeah, I guess the strategies
Yeah.
the strategies are the best thing I learned from this book. Well, I'm gonna recap it. The first strategy is the rule of pain before
Yeah.
pleasure.
Before pleasure.
You need the exposure. You need to feel the difficulty.
And
You
then
need to get the difficulty and then get the pleasure.
yeah.
And also you need to make barriers for yourself, and also you need to have a better and strong discipline.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned earlier that discipline is a key for success, because it it opens up a huge amount of opportunities for the people
Yeah.
who have not imagined those dreams or those goals in their wildest dreams.
Yeah.
So these three strategies, I guess, are the bad things, and things that should be remembered.
Yeah, like you said, like it's usual because like when you want to expose yourself first of all to the pain, like
Yes, definitely.
before doing something pleasurable. For those things, I think people tend to be really how can I say, they forget most of the things. They do not adhere to the things they do. I mean, first of all, if we want to do something, I think we need to write it down on something, and it would be quite a reminder for us to follow. I mean, maybe keep a diary,
Yeah,
maybe
yes.
keep some sort of notebook, because in order to cultivate discipline, like it doesn't come naturally. You have to cultivate it deep within yourself. Even like if you just write down like in your like phone, maybe it's my schedule for today. I will do this. I will do this. It may not happen as like exactly as you want. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like it takes time, and also in order to exponentially improve your discipline, you need to reflect on yourself, do some mindfulness practice. I mean, it's not some meditation. I mean, let's write down what you've done today, what you're grateful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it also gives dopamine because when you write down something that you've done really pleasurable or really like you're really grateful for.
Everything gives dopamine.
Yeah,
Everything
that's the thing I really that's stuck in my mind. Everything is dopamine, and we have this average level dopamine, and it tends to just uh, go up and go down.
Well, I would recommend people to chase real dopamine, like
Yeah,
eating or socializing
yeah, that's
or somehow waiting lists or being engaged in sport or the nutrients
yeah,
or taking a walk or the nature. Everything. This kind of things. This kind of things
defines
holds.
our
Yeah. This kind of things holds ability to give. What do you to give unparalleled pleasure to
yeah,
people. But people are so somehow distracted in their phones, and they have their own visual minds. They have their visual worlds. They cannot. I mean, if you want to feel great pleasure, just go outside. Just
yeah.
go outside and talk to someone. Especially talk to stranger, because if you want to talk to stranger, then you will feel firstly anxiety, or you will feel firstly you will be very afraid to talk to that person.
Yeah.
But after you see
Step out of your
the
comfort
result,
zone,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
you'll
step out your comfort zone, and you will become very astonished because of the reason, and also your brain will be very astonished
Yeah.
and fascinated by this pleasure.
That's the thing.
Uh,
Like, whenever you're confronted with some obstacle, you have to just you have your own like literally traditional like personality, and you have to create like you have to go outside and do the thing that you haven't done, even if it's really embarrassing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's all benefiting.
Yeah.
But because, as you said, chasing after healthy dopamines.
Yeah.
Yeah, like dopamines.
natural and
Natural, yeah.
not artificial.
Well, I think it may be some sort of like trend nowadays. Like it's also beneficial for some people to restrict their limit of social media. And what if, like another really important question, what if we like eradicate social media, even if it's impossible for our lives? What would happen? What can you imagine? Like,
Please define the word
I mean, eradicate, remove all of this social media apps. I mean, this connections, this online, whatever. What happens? Do you think?
Well, I guess it's as it's all. It's impossible,
Yeah,
but we need to somehow restrict ourselves from using it in an excessive amount of time. Well, it's a kind of mindless thing, because, well, the people should have dreams, because every addiction is caused by somehow the pointlessness.
yeah,
If someone does not have a goal, or does not have something, does not have a natural thing that gives him the same pleasure that social media can give, then this person can restrict himself from social media. For example, how I took the control over social media, especially YouTube. Well, for example, I do not usually use Instagram, but I am very what I was very addicted was YouTube, especially YouTube Shorts, because YouTube Shorts have variety of information, variety of somehow the the content,
yeah,
and that's why it gave me really good pleasure.
yeah,
But after having decided, after making a very crucial decision in my life, very important, very big decision in my life, and I realized that I am losing my focus,
yeah.
because when you scroll when you scroll
Continuous
when you scroll, because the shorts are around 1 minute. I mean, most of the shorts are around 1 minute, and that's why your brain will used to exposure itself into content that that its longevity only 1 minute or 50 seconds, etc., then your brain will feel a necessary, I mean necessity for another kind of topic or another kind of video or content or information after only 1 minute, and that means you literally lost your focus,
Yeah.
because there are some scenes. For example, just take aisles. In every section is around more than 30 minutes. That
Yeah.
means you have to focus. You have to uh, somehow
Improve your
calm.
attention.
You have to somehow calm up your attention into one thing for the
Yeah.
next 30 minutes, and it's pretty impossible for those who are addicted with scrolling shorts,
Yeah.
shorts or reels. And I realized that I'm losing my focus, so I had to get rid of it, and I shouldn't do it. And this gives me somehow the
Yeah.
the, the search strategy. I mean, the categorical. This gave me some discipline because it was very crucial. So I got rid of it at once.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. If you really want it, you can get rid of it at once.
As I said, like reflect on yourself.
Yes.
Reflect what is happening within yourself. What is causing problems? Because some people want to improve in some area of their lives. Maybe, as you said, exams, and like reflecting on these experiences, you have to make a really crucial decision. I think we recapped all of the useful informations and strategies for people to follow. And I think our today science podcast is over. Thank you for your say, John. And I think we will have another episodes with you and me as well about variety of topics.
That's
So
maybe.
thank you.
And thanks again for inviting me, and also I want to thank you for somehow the recap, or somehow solidified my thoughts and informations that I gave. So it was pretty cool, I guess.